Hello and welcome to the award-winning Combat Sports podcast, the Boxing Show. This is episode number 64. This is our warts and all preview of the amazing card in Riyadh season, topped by Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. As you can see, I'm not Rob Tebbert. Chaps, I don't really know where he is. This one smacks as a can't be asked.
Who cares?
He usually says, I can't come because of this. Can you do it? Obviously, I'm on the payroll.
Yeah.
Didn't even get that. It's just like,
can you
speak to those two?
We didn't know either.
I don't know if you pissed him off.
Yeah. Just striding manfully through reception and just thought...
Got a podcast to do.
The truth is,
must be here for a reason.
we're doing it late now because I could have done Monday. I just didn't want to. So I just said no. I played golf instead.
Oh, yeah.
So I just thought, fuck him. Like, he's a prick, isn't he?
I can't.
It's nothing I wouldn't say to his face.
No,
nothing I don't say to his face.
True. That's true.
But, you know, so like, I don't want him to like be hurt. I hope he's okay.
I mean, yeah, we do pray for Rob. Hope he's okay.
Hashtag.
Praise
that's the hashtag. How are you two gents though? Before we get started,
better than Rob's not here.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to hear. I'll take that. And the best thing, gents, is we've got a stonker of a card to talk about. 7-fight card, Riyadh season, October the 12th at the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, where we're all used to going now. Topped by I would say, I don't know if you'd agree, it's like the final outstanding fight that everyone had asked for years.
Good call,
we kind of got the welterweight one, we got the heavyweight ones. This one we still haven't got, and it's been taking a while, but it's finally here. Should we dive straight in at the top? That's usually how you boys do this, isn't it? Go straight for the big one.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll get predictions and that out of the way later, but this is about as good as it gets at light heavyweight, Andy.
Yeah, I think it could maybe, and I hope it is, end up being one of the best fights you've ever seen, because they're both that good, aren't they? And they seem evenly matched, and you just cannot imagine, I can't anyway, one of them just dominating the other one. Although I didn't really see that with Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, and that is what happened, so you can't ever rule it out. But I do see this being a highly technical but also grueling fight, which is what you want, isn't it? That's the very, very best of any sport, but particularly boxing, where you've got two people who understand the sport, have been doing it for a really, really long time. So the technical level, the skill level will be incredibly high, but it may come down still to that most basic ingredient of who can just suck it up a little bit more when it gets really tough in the second half of the fight. It could come down to that, and I hope it does, because those for me are always the best ones. They're both undefeated. They do know each other from back in the day. Not an awful lot happened there. They don't really talk about it.
Yeah, they never sparred or anything.
I think they did a couple of rounds, maybe 10, 12 years ago, something like that. But neither one really wants to make anything of it. And how business-like they are about this is an indicator, I think, for how absolutely savage it could be, because they're both that person, aren't they? They're both that person who it isn't personal. They don't look at it as being anything other than the business they're in. But that level of coldness is kind of brilliant, isn't it? Because you know that there's no grudge there, there's no bad blood there, but there's no mercy there either, not for 1 second. So I can't wait for it.
Okay, so Barry, Dmitry Bivol, 23-0, 12 knockouts, 33 years old. As we know, Beterbiev 20-0, 20 knockouts, but he's 39 now.
Yeah.
Is that a factor, do you think? We've got Bivol, looks like he's in his prime. You can't say Beterbiev's not in his prime, but he keeps getting injured as well.
But we've been saying that for the last 4 fights. Oh, he's getting old now. And it's always going to be an issue, I think. I think this has a lot of parallels with Spence and Crawford, because fighters who are maybe not in the prime of their careers age-wise, though they looked in good shape, one carrying a few injuries, as Spence was, of course. But a fight where you pick a winner, like I did. I picked a winner when it was talked about. Not when it was first announced, the first fight. When it was talked about, I picked a winner, and that was Bivol. So I've stuck with him. So I'm going for Bivol. Obviously, there's a prediction out of the way.
All right, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But turn off now.
No, I'm talking. Switch back on in about 25 minutes when I stop mumbling. But it's like I picked Crawford against Spence, but I wasn't confident about it all the way through. And as the fight gets closer, you do get that squeaky bum feeling where, I don't know, I'm not quite ssure. And then you see some good stuff and you think, but if I went the other way, I wouldn't be quite sure with that. And that's what makes it a great fight. On paper, you never know what's going to happen in the ring, but I think it is. I can't see how this doesn't fail to deliver. It won't, because it'd just be... if anything, the way Beterbiev fights, he forces the best or the worst out of you, because the way he fights. You can't escape him. So you either got to show brilliance or vulnerability. He's no two ways with him. He's no give and take with him. Bivol's a bit different because he's clever, and he has really good boxing brain, so he can sometimes switch off. That's why he has so few stoppages. He could have stopped a lot more people, I think. He just does enough. And you find that with really clever fighters, that their brain gets in the way at times. In this fight, you need his brain, but you need to know when to pull the trigger. Because Beterbiev can get squared up, he can be hurt.
We've seen it before.
But also, when he gets hurt, he gets up and knocks you out. So you know, I mean, there's few avenues. I said the other day, I thought it was very clever, so I'm going to say it again.
Was that on a better podcast?
I saw it in one of those on the back of a chewing gum wrapper, but it was about to stay concentrated for 3 minutes of every round is it's impossible. You can't do that. So you got to hope that when you switch off, he's not switched on. That's for Bivol. I think that's very important because if it's a time where when your concentration wanes, when you have to re-energize yourself, and he's on it, you're fucked. I mean, you're done because if he hits you, if you hit you and you're not switched on, you're knocked out. And we've seen that with all his opponents, the ones he's had trouble with, the ones who've hurt him, like Callum Johnson. Like all it takes for him to make a mistake. Because he puts himself on there, and I don't think because Bivol's judgment of distance is perfect. He knows he's in and out with the jab all the time, and he's not a KO artist, but every punch is solid because his technique is flawless, and he'll do that, and he'll be patient with it until you make a mistake. But that's sliding in. He doesn't quite. He's half slide, half a bounce. I think with him. I think
it's like a little glide.
So he sort of bounces and slides out. Yeah, or the other. No, he does. Yeah. So, but Bivol steals your space. Beterbiev steals your space. So I got a feeling when he dives in with the jab and comes back out, Beterbiev is going to go woof, because they both got great footwork, totally different footwork. The Bivol's the dancing, the mover. Looks like he got better footwork, but Beterbiev is more economically sound with this, but he cuts you off like a Golovkin used to, like Canelo does.
Pure pressure.
Yeah, and he hit, and like all those big punches. And I say it, I've been saying it forever. I mean, we all say it now, but. He hit you anyway. Don't give a shit. Just feel it. And I talk about it, and I got that off like Canelo really, or he hit you out. But off Naz, I got off Naz originally because he would go and whack you with a really good shot and make you shit yourself. And everything from there then is you're doing something with the view of not getting hit back, and it slows you down. Canelo does it still, and Beterbiev does it. But Beterbiev does it with genuinely knockout power every shot. So. For Bivol, the important part of Bivol is just keep that mental concentration, which drains your tank.
He's probably as good at that as anybody, though, isn't he? I'd
sure
say
that
his concentration levels are. However, I think you're right when you say 180 seconds of pure concentration. No one can do that, but he can probably get as close to that as anyone, can't he?
Yeah. But the what he is though there is that I think the things that work for him might not work in this fight. So then. Keeping that concentration, not getting caught, and having to be active with winning the fight. You still got to win the fight, see? And if him being that coasting scenario where he's just trying to do enough, won't be enough. So I've picked a guy, and I'm showing you all the reason why he won't win. Yeah, but I think that's why he's such a good fight. Because you got to make whichever you look at it, you got to make Beterbiev a massive favourite. Because he's knocked everyone out, but he's knocking out punchers, he's knocking out boxers. He's knocking out the first round, he's knocking out the last round. So there's whatever you do up to this point, however you box, whatever you can do, at any stage of the fight, he's able to put your lights out.
He's got an answer.
That's a fierce, no, I box a puncher, but I knew after he stopped me in the 8th, so this just makes no sense. But I knew in the early, he's dangerous in the earlier rounds. Like some punches after it's like 7-8 rounds, they're done. No, let's see, George Gross, great boxer, brilliant boxer. But the way he fought, you knew the last few rounds he would be struggling a bit for pace. So he would, because every punch he hit you is a knockout shot, and you see that. David Hay, another example of that. So you think if I can get through so many rounds, make them work hard, then they'll tire, and you might have a chance. Most boxers didn't because they were so good. But I mean, with Beterbiev, there's none of that. He shows that he is tired. But the power is just genuinely real with him all the way through. So there's just no escape anywhere. So I don't know how you navigate them waters.
I do think the age thing is it's always worth thinking about.
And the injuries,
though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
because these last two fights was Callum Smith, big delay because of a dental thing, which was really serious.
About 6 months delay.
Yeah, and then this one was supposed to be June the 1st, and he's had a meniscus tear, which is again serious. 2 serious injuries.
Well, he ripped it off the meniscus thing like it was nothing.
Yeah, but 20-0 with 20. It's hard to then say, is this a man who's past his peak? Because he's kind of showed no signs.
It is, but it will happen at some point.
And then we go, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And if you haven't kind of, predicated it with that, you'll feel like an idiot. But I remember we all saw him against Anthony Yarde, and that's a performance that's aged well from Yarde. I know he got stopped in the end, but
I agree. Didn't
I was really close to the Beterbiev corner where I was sitting that night, and he, after 5 rounds, I looked at Beterbiev and I thought, this could be the night where he finally starts to look old, because he was marked up. And he was even at that point, and he was blowing. And Mark Ramsey was like massaging his calves and just giving him a real G up and just saying, come on, Artur, we've got to pick it up, because they knew that the momentum had shifted a bit. And then, being a great fighter, he did exactly that. But
after nearly 2 years ago
exactly,
as well.
Yeah, and after that fight, I looked at him and I just thought, okay, maybe the time, maybe it's nigh. And if somebody can bring the same energy as Yarde did that night, then he's going to get beaten. But at the time, I think I probably underestimated the performance from Yarde that night, because then against Callum Smith, who has achieved an awful lot, and a few of us gave a real good chance to, me being one of them, I mean, we saw what happened.
Swept aside. Yeah, do we think, though, would we all be in agreement that we've never seen either of these guys box anyone like the other? So that's why it's intangible. We've never seen Beterbiev with a boxer like as astute and disciplined as Bivol, and obviously we've never seen Bivol with a puncher and that relentless force of Beterbiev. So it's impossible really to see how either react.
When you go someone like Beterbiev, their reputation precedes him, so half their work's done with some fighters. Even someone like Callum Smith, he will never admit this, and I said he wasn't scared because of who he is and how good he is, but you're tentative, you're wary of what's coming. You have to be that way, but I think it sort of swallowed him a little bit, because sometimes when you're in with someone that's so dangerous as that, you're almost waiting to get hurt, or waiting to see, waiting for the shot. Even all experience you are, I think sometimes you are that way, and then you put yourself on the back foot then straight away, because you can go positive. But I don't think Bivol will be that way. I don't think he'll be. I think he'll know the danger, but I think he'll realise. I think he's quite pragmatic with his approach. So he'll realise that I can't just take the shot. And I got to take the shot and throw off it. So I got to. If I do that, I stop his momentum. I think he'll understand that very quickly, and I think he'll go for it. Might put him in trouble. But I think he'll box, but I don't think he'll be like, look, every time he takes a shot, looking just to defend and be safe. I think he'll have to fire back, otherwise he's just going to get overhauled.
Yeah, you can't just kind of like tuck up and ride it out, can you?
No, not with him.
That's not doable.
No, you can't absorb that power. Another thing, I don't know if you gents have seen it, but Dmitry Bivol's been kind of this big public separation with his ex-wife or the mother of his children or whatever, and that's been going on kind of publicly. And I just wonder if that could be a factor.
I'll do him a favour.
Do you think? No, but do you think it? It's one of those where, what way is it going to go?
I don't know.
Is it a headache, or is it something that he's gone that's galvanised him? Is it nothing?
I think it can. Of course, things like that, they're big shifts in your life, and there's. I've been, and you guys will never get there. So it's a really hard time to go through there. So especially when kids are involved, because you're not seeing your kid every day. When you used to see him every day, that's a horrible thing. This is another podcast, but I mean,
sounds like one for the George Groves Boxing Club.
It does, yeah. and then she left me for a tall guy, 5'9". But also, I think boxers, especially at the high level, like I say this all the time, boxers are the most selfish people you ever meet.
Bulletproof.
But you have to be selfish because you're going to get it. It's all about you. You have to get. So I think, especially when you're boxing at a higher level, that being able to separate real life to your boxing life, you can do it in camp, because it's all about you. You used to being selfish. Everyone's talking about you. All the people there train you, whether it's one trainer of 10 or like Anthony Joshua, millions. They're all looking after you. So then you become selfish, and rightly so. Because you can't think about, like, you can't go to the ring thinking about, you see, I do it for my family, we all do it for your family and your kids and all that crap. But ultimately, when you're in the ring, you're thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about, my nan's ill and, my dog.
You've got Beterbiev in front of you trying to take your head off.
You just think about my life and how I'm getting on. Like in any fight, you can't be worrying about other people. You've got to be selfish. So I think you'll be able to compartmentalize. Yes.
Yeah.
Big thanks. I've learned that.
Do you know what, Barry? I could see you were going for that word, and I was thinking, is he going to pull this one off? Is he going to? Is he about to say compartmentalise?
Yeah.
And I thought you might fall on ring fence, but compartmentalise is fine.
I've got some words wrong over the.
You reckon he can?
I think
he's that mentally strong.
I think so. I think boxers in general can do that. Because this is your life, and this is the biggest fight that they wanted. This I hate the word legacy, but I think it's very apt for this one. This is defined you for in the history of the light heavyweight division. If you win this, you're the best of your generation and one of the best who've ever done it in that weight. Not the best. But
let's go straight there because that was the next one. What do you think? Because Adi Aladipo, we all love. He said at that press conference, he was like, I think the winner of this could be in the running to be the best light heavyweight. Now he's obviously employed by the promotion. His job is to build it up.
Yeah.
We talking light heavyweight. We're talking Ezard Charles. We're talking Archie Moore. We're talking
Bob Foster.
Like it's an unbelievable division.
Yeah, it's difficult to pass them. Isn't
it? But are we talking top 10? If someone does a Crawford in this fight, Crawford did against Spence. We're talking a top 10 of all time.
I think so. It's a difficult thing to do, isn't it? Compare across eras. I mean, it's impossible basically, but it's fun. So
how far do you go back?
Exactly. Do you go back to people you never actually have even seen film?
At light heavyweight, a lot of them are. A lot of those guys are.
So it's really, it's not really. There's not that much value in it, to be honest. It's just, if you're the best in your era, then that's all you can do. But it is good fun, so I understand why people do it. And I think if somebody has a comprehensive win in this fight, then you have to put them in the conversation because otherwise you're kind of dismissing the era that you're operating in yourself on the grounds that things were always better back in the day. Yeah. And you don't want to go too far down that road.
It's more that idea.
But that's easy to do, by the way.
It's really easy. If you could drop him into any era, it's like Terence Crawford. You could drop him into any era at welterweight, probably at 140 as well, maybe even lightweight, and he'd do the business in just about any other era.
Yeah, I think
it's the same with these guys.
Yeah, I think it is because there are some people who, when you watch them and you watch how they go about things and how they've won their fights, you feel like they're technically that sound.
Yeah.
That they could have done it whenever. Whether they would have beaten another person or not, who knows? But you can't look at either of these two and just think there are no fundamental basic flaws there, either physically, mentally, or in any way, really, are there?
Because then you start to go, could Beterbiev keep that energy for 15 rounds? Could Bivol stay away for 15 rounds? Then you go, but then they'd be training for 15 rounds, so maybe they'd be used to it. But it's difficult. But I don't think they have to win comprehensively. Just the fact that they win.
Yeah.
I think we'll look at Fury and Usyk. That was a close fight, by the way. Everyone just thinks Fury got battered now all of a sudden. It was a massively close fight. Yeah. So, which the right winner? It was the right winner. Can't argue there, but it was a close fight. So, and he puts him as his generation best, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Now he has to. So, I think that would make him the best in that era, one of the best of all time. Where you put him is at your preference, I think. But I don't think it makes him the very best, but it makes him one of the best, which is enough.
Okay.
So it's a career-defining fight with loads of jeopardy. No, all these words I found out today.
Jeopardy, I like it.
Yeah.
Well, let's do predictions. So you're team Bivol, are you?
Yeah.
Points win.
No, 2-round knockout.
Thing is, one of them where you're like, you look at Bivol and you go, well, he didn't really stop anyone. Look at all the people he didn't stop. But then he's never had to fight. He's never had to pull something out of him. He's never been up against it like this. You don't actually know how they respond.
That's not how he does it, is it?
It's like when James DeGale boxed Andre Dorado. Okay, didn't stop him, but he dropped him twice in the third round. And it was like, fuck, oh shit, he can punch like this when he needs to because he had to, because it just had to raise his game.
And when you say about had to, Bivol with great judgment of time and the distance and a good engine and all the rest of it. When someone forces you to put, I say this all the time about the people like Golovkin and Canelo's and also Beterbiev, when you punch when you want to, you get your breathing right, so you can do all that. You punch like that, and you punch smooth because all the rhythm's right. But when you're forced to punch, then your breathing's wrong. You have to be reactive, to stay alive. then you put your tension a little bit more. You punch when you don't want to. You have
a bit like that early against Yard.
Yeah. But I mean,
it was exactly.
But I mean for Bivol as well. So if if Beterbiev puts it on Bivol, all of a sudden he's making mistakes he's never made before. So I think there's loads of stuff like that. Yeah. I think Bivol gets put down, maybe twice.
Oh.
Twice.
But he wins that comprehensively to get a decision.
I think.
That's a great shot.
I love that.
Well,
that's a very specific.
Very specific. What are you saying, Andy?
I don't give outright predictions if I'm commentating, which is chronically dull.
Yeah,
but,
that is.
I'm a chronically dull man, so it's in
perfect.
character.
It's a draw then, is it?
But I feel like Beterbiev's a favourite.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because
massive favourite.
Because I think Bivol as well. So I'm the opposite of you. I thought Beterbiev at the start, hearing things about the whatever, but also he's, like I said, he's 39. He's having injuries and stuff, and Bivol's 33. And I just got this feeling about a points win. A points win for Bivol.
I can't change. Like I try not to change my mind ever.
That's the old adage. Never change, but I couldn't help it
because and that's why I don't. remember the 24/7 things on HBO.
Oh yeah, they were just.
But I couldn't watch them because they're there to change your mind, and they will change your mind.
Yeah, but you watch the one inside the camp of one guy. He's definitely good.
You're like Robert Guerrero's definitely going to knock Floyd Mayweather
out. Oh mate, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
he's a southpaw.
Yeah. So unless something, and also I don't really want. Like you just got to see what the things might be happening behind the scenes you don't know about.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I didn't know about Bivol and his missus and stuff like that, and his kids. So like that's a factor.
Yeah.
And obviously we know Beterbiev got problems with his injuries, and he might be fully fit now. But I don't know. When you get older, you get the harder it is to.
He still
recover.
crushes everyone, doesn't he?
But you're like, ooh, unless there's a massive obvious thing happens. Unless Beterbiev comes limp into the ring, then I go, oh, maybe Bivol stops him, or if Bivol comes to the ring and starts crying because of all the stress with his family life. Then you go, oh, can I change my mind? So I try and stick with as long as I got a logical reason why I got there.
Don't let the outside.
Yeah, and
we're going to get absolutely nothing out of either of them fight week, are we?
It's a hard week.
No one's going to look like they're wilting under the glare or the pressure. It's just going to be.
Beterbiev was pissing off the other day.
Yeah.
At the flyover in camp, you can see he's struggling. The weight with Beterbiev. Let's not talk about that. They both struggled to make the weight, but he looked. Remember, he come over for the other press conference. He looked like a bear, didn't he? They just shaved a bear. I mean, there you go, jump in there, mate. Like, it could have been anyone, couldn't it? Like, he was huge, wasn't he?
Shaved a bear.
He was the one. What was his
should do that on this podcast.
Shows like that. See him the other day, how slim he was. Like he should be, but he looked drawn in the face. And I think and having to fly over here just to. Just to do a press conference.
I wondered just because it's only a few weeks out.
Opetaia had to fly in from fucking Gold Coast.
Yeah, I wondered whether they might all be kind of on their way to head out to Saudi early to finish off camp there. Because I was just thinking, if you come over here to go all the way back there and then come all the way back over a few weeks later, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, two men who.
But they're getting paid a lot, so
they kind of do what they're told. Yeah, but two men who didn't have that problem. We'll go to this one next because there's loads of obviously the undercard's brilliant. Is Fabio Wardley against Frazer Clarke, or Frazer Clarke against Fabio Wardley? No, Fabio Wardley's the champion.
Fabio Wardley.
What we just over 6 months on from their very memorable, controversial, epic split draw at the O2, where Frazer Clarke got dropped and had a point deducted, but he still won 115, 112 on Howard Foster's card, so he had him a big winner. But then Michael Alexander had it 114, 113 to Fabio Wardley, and Mark Bates had it even. So then they shared the spoils, so to speak.
I didn't see the cards, actually, the score cards, but I think this is right. Even though the referee gives a public warning or a count, the judges don't have to score it. Is that right?
Knockdowns, they don't.
Knockdowns,
I think it's up to the judge.
Well, not. Well, I've asked them about this because I'm a chronically dull man.
Yeah.
But point deductions, you have to take the point.
We know that.
If the ref goes ping,
that's the end of that. And the supervisor will take that off the score sheet at the end. So the judge doesn't really have to concern him or herself with is it 9-9, 10-9. Never mind that. They just score the round because that's something that happens outside of the round. It's a separate incident. They take time out, take time back in.
That's why TV scorecards are frustrating, isn't it?
Doesn't add that.
Just have a point deduction column at the end. That's all you need to do with that. With knockdowns, I remember talking to one of our guys about this because I'd mistakenly said, well, if a judge has got a better view of it than the referee and has decided he got that wrong, you can ignore it. And what he told me was, officially, you cannot ignore a knockdown, but what you could do is then, so for example, you knock me down, the judge gives it, The referee gives it. A judge decides, not sure about that.
Award you the round still.
Yeah, but will say score it 10-9 rather than 10-8.
Yeah.
But if they were asked about it afterwards, why did you do that? They wouldn't say, well, he got the knockdown run, so I didn't count it. They would say, well, I thought he dominated the rest of the round, which would be bollocks, and everybody would know it. But you can hedge it, basically.
Yeah, and equally, if the referee doesn't give a knockdown, but you think he's been dominated, you can still give a 10-8, of course, without a knockdown.
Yeah,
as we know. Yeah. But the point is, Frazer Clarke, without the point deduction or without the knockdown, I know it's all ifs and buts, but he wins the fight narrowly, but he wins the fight. But instead, it was a split draw. Now, 6 months on, obviously both men gave everything. It was a fucking hellacious fight.
Great one.
Fabio Wardley's face afterwards was a picture. Like, it was one of those ones where you watch it and you think, I'm not sure we deserved that. Like, we deserved any two humans to deliver that.
And on a bank holiday Sunday,
exactly.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
So, who's the favourite now ahead of the rematch, based on what we saw in the first fight and what's happened in the 6 months since?
I do say things like it's hard to pick a favourite.
Yeah.
I think usually in rematches you tend to go with the guy, the better boxer, and the guy who's, unless he's been battered, which he hasn't. No, then they're both battered. But you know what I mean? Because he has a better boxing brain and he can adapt. That's what you would think. But I think Wardley's got a real good knack of just drawing you into his fight really quickly. It's because the way he throws his punches, he wings them in. So you have to fight. You have to fire back just to stay alive, and then you lose your shape a little bit. Though Frazer did quite well, but I think and then you're hoping then he ties in the later rounds, which he does, and then Frazer sort of picked it up a bit. But so I would maybe edge towards Clarke as maybe having a bit more of a slight favourite because of that. And I thought, though I picked Wardley for the fight, to win the fight originally, because I just thought he'd been in a war and Clarke hadn't yet, and Clarke had a relatively coasting professional career, and I thought that, I'm not saying he couldn't do it because he hadn't done it. The other guy can. It's horrible to find out if you can have a war in a 12-round fight, especially at that weight. You're not quite sure. Wardley knows he can, when he's hurt, he can fire back. He knows how to react. I mean, sometimes he reacts wrong, but in that the way he reacts sometimes is what makes him such an exciting fight to watch, because it's always like he's going to get knocked out unless he knocks you out. But I thought, even though I picked Wardley to win, I thought Clarke just nicked the fight. Even with the knockdown and public one, I still thought he did enough just to nick the fight. But it was a close fight, and you couldn't argue. I think it was that sort of thing. But I think most people probably thought Clarke won. I would have thought maybe. Yeah,
and obviously it muddies the water, knocked 2 points off, so therefore 2 rounds lost. If you look at it like that,
I think it was one of those ones where, if you watched it and judged it as one 36-minute long round, which obviously we don't, but if you did the impression you had at the end was that Clarke was probably had slightly the
overall
better of it. But the way boxing scored it, we ended up with what we got, and I had no issue with it being a draw. No. I still find it really difficult to pick, because I think Fabio's one of these guys who, like Frazer said, he does really punch hard, and as Barry said, from strange angles. And although he looked like he was about to fall apart almost at any point from about round 7 onwards, he didn't. Yeah. And he was still able to punch hard from any angle. I think after like 9 or 10 rounds covering the fight, I turned around to Matt Macklin and just said, like, who would you rather be in this kind of turmoil right now with a few minutes left? And I think he said Frazer Clarke. He seems like he's got a bit more wind in his sails.
Tighter as well.
And it did seem like that, but then he basically collapsed after the final bell. So that shows you how much he put into it. That's
great.
I mean, it was absolutely epic, and they know what each other brings. I think for Frazer, he needs to try and use that jab as much as he possibly can, because I think Fabio was a bit surprised by that early on. You could see this look on his face, almost like it was something different. This was somebody who had this just really good basic tool that other people he'd come up against with didn't. And Frazer kind of talked about how he neglected it as the fight went on, but that's exhaustion, I think, towards the end, probably. If he could keep it tighter and use that technique, then I think that's how he wins. But like Barry said, you get dragged into it, and then who knows?
It could go. And also
because the way Fabio swings that right hand over the top, you're well aware if you don't get the jab right, that's coming back. So you're more tentative to throw the jab, even though you should throw it even more, but you don't want it because you know what happens if you don't hit the target clean. ironically, though, with Fabio, if he can learn that looping right hand's a good weapon for him, but the one that knocked Frazer down was a straight right hand on the middle.
Yeah.
So if he realises that actually, if I just turn my hips and shoulders more rather than wing it, that direct route's going to do more damage.
He does lose that unorthodox. That whole those wide punches are just a bit wild, a bit Deontay Wilder-ish, and that you don't see him come in. Frazer Clarke's been used to boxing the best Russians, the best Kazakhs,
but it's all inside the box, isn't it?
And now you've got this wild card of a boxer, as we know, Fabio Wardley, a white collar guy with unbelievable power. Do you think if he just keeps it straight and tries to go a bit more conventional, he loses something in this fight against Frazer Clarke?
Maybe, but I think you can't change it. Use your style, it's your style.
Both, yeah.
Ultimately, but I think there's you can improve a little bit on stuff now and again, especially in the early rounds where you got more mental capacity to focus. And when you get tired, it's all instinct. One thing I would say about, I said this before, I said it again, Fabio Wardley for me is the most instinctive fighter in the Britain since Nigel Benn. He's not as good as Nigel Benn. He never will be as good as Nigel Benn. Maybe no, but I doubt it. But I mean, he fires like Nigel Benn. When Nigel Benn was hurt, he was at his most dangerous.
He's like an animal, yeah.
You know, their first thought, and it worked for him also every time, and it works for Fabio every time. Like he's hurt or knackered, and you just think, oh, don't do that. Like sometimes, you know, because sometimes you just need to go, elbows tucked in, I'm hurt or I'm tired. Just protect yourself first, and then think about doing something. But Ben wouldn't, would he? You know, his feet would be in like this. His knee, you know, he had no balance, and he'd just swing a shot from anywhere from the floor, and that would just give momentum to throw. Like he almost had no energy because he was swinging his body. It helped him because he just keeps swinging, and because he had the power, and he was so ferocious, he'd knock people out, or it'd just be enough for him to stop him from working, and he'd hold on, and Fabio does the same. He makes like mate, if you don't get that right, you're done. But also because he's a heavyweight, the other guy who's attacking him, or Frazer, will just go, poof, I don't want to take that. So he stops him, like so he's one of the most reactive fighters I can remember, which makes him a great watch. And I just think again, like I got it wrong the last time, and I just think again that might just be a difference. That unorthodox athleticism that he has still might just be not right for Frazer, who again who's a better boxer, has a better boxing brain for sure, and is tough now. He's shown how tough he is. Yeah. I mean, he got the combinations to be a fantastic fighter now because he showed a good engine. He's tough as shit, and he's technically very good.
I'd say that's a real interesting aspect to it too, isn't it? And talking to them both the other day at the press conference, they both know, and when I mentioned it to Frazer, he came over for a chat. He kind of had this, I don't know how you would describe it, this kind of little grin on his face, kind of black humour, I suppose would be the best way to describe it, where they both know they're going to have to go there again. There's no other way. There is no give in either of them. It's very unlikely that one of them's going to have improved so much that they're going to be able to win this fight comfortably. They're going to have to go to hell and back again. And when you say to fighters sometimes, and I have done loads of times down the years, oh my God, what a great fight that would be, you and him, it'd be an absolute war. And they'll just say, yeah, that'd be, the
last thing they want.
Yeah, because they don't, because you've only got so many of them in you. And that first one, they know what it's like now, and as much as it's great to get the plaudits and you get the rematch and it's a great payday and it's on a great stage, they will be thinking to themselves, Jesus, I've got to go through that again. That's how I've got to prepare myself anyway. I have to assume that is what's going to happen again, and that's, I mean, it's great for us. Yeah, but it's not great for them.
No, and you wonder what it took out of both of them, especially at their age. Obviously, Frazer Clarke, the older man. Fabio Wardley sustained some bad facial damage, and you could see the marking still on the nose. And
that's going to open quick.
You would think it was there before, the one.
Yeah, of course. But it was really badly damaged, and you think, is that going to be a factor if he gets?
It's going to open up again.
I think it will be a factor. I don't know if whether it stops the fight, but it's going to happen. So, but he's aware of that. I think Fabio, because he didn't have a big, massive amateur career, no amateur career, so. There's not loads of wear and tear in him, but he's had
been in the gym a lot though.
But he's had of course, but I mean, still, it's different sparring for fights and just sparring. I think so he hasn't got the wear and tear, but Frazer's got a long amateur career.
Yeah,
certainly his spars would be more brutal than in a GB, probably sparring Olympians going to get ready for competitions all the time. But he also his professional career there's no wear and tear there because none of his fights have been hard.
Yeah, true.
So it's. That sort of evens it up a little bit. I just think Fabio knows every fight with him is a war. He's used to it. Now it's almost like a muscle memory. Like he can't fight in any other way. So as much as he knows, you still got to prepare yourself for it. With Frazer, when you have that technical ability to make fights simpler, you tend to always want to make them simpler for yourself. Why wouldn't you? But he's done the war, so that's a good tick that he's done it. But also, how hard it is as well. So it can play with your mind. It can steal you or make you think, I don't want to do that again. I mean, I really don't want to do that again. I think it'll be the latter, but the former, and he'll think, do you know what, I know now that I can do it. Because you're all thinking, I'm tough, and you've had, and you can guess you're tough by some of the wars you have as an amateur. We've all had wars in amateurs, but they're 3 rounds. When you get to round 8 and you're blown out your ass, winning or losing a fight is a horrible place to be. I don't care who you are, especially for someone like me. You have no power. I can't just knock him out here.
Yeah, you're in.
I'm in. I gotta fight through this. And Frazer would have thought that. Even got the power. Even though he has the power to knock out Fabio, he got to a point in that fight thinking, "Fucking hell, this is never ending." You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Like Fabio's like that, but Fabio knows that. Fabio's just instinctively like that. So Frazer's just gone, and you got to toughen yourself up. So when you get through that, you go, do you know what, I've done that now. You're proud of yourself, and you think, so you don't have to guess again. That's what I always say about, I'm going to digress a bit now, obviously, about running in the morning is no good for you. But doing things you don't want to do in training are very important. Having a structure to your training in professional boxers is perfect. You train at the right time, you eat the right food, all that stuff. It makes you, it's perfect, great. Modern technology and modern training methods are better than ever before. Running in the morning is no good for your body, I don't think, I'm guessing. But it's the mental toughness. Who wants to get up at 5 o'clock when it's fucking raining in the dark? And, when your missus is there next to you. No, not mine. She farts. Actually, don't. But well, maybe. But what I mean is, it's like, who wants? You don't want to get out of bed, but you've got to get out of bed. You've got to run. Doing things you don't want to do are as important as learning how to throw a jab. Because in a fight, you're going to do something you don't want to do. That's why the relationship support with your trainer, because he's going to tell you to do something you don't want to do. And if you don't trust him, you won't fucking do it. So now Frazer thinks he could tough it out because he's done it as an amateur, but doing it in a long distance fight like he did so fucking well, getting off the floor and everything else, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, that's a toughness you can't teach. You got it or you haven't got it, and you don't know until you get that point. You don't know, and you think you know, you don't. I've been in a fight, I was winning, and I was like, and I hit me with a body shot. I wasn't hurt. I was so tired that I thought about going down. I didn't. It was a fleeting thought. Because I threw about 16 punches, like pitter-patter shit, But I mean, you don't tell me you don't question yourself. Anybody who's in a tough fight, you're full of shit. Even if you're winning. Even if you're the one going at him. God, you saw Immaculate recently, this is their anniversary, Immaculate and Moore.
Jamie Moore.
What were they? I bet you every round they were going, fuck this. What the fucking hell? I don't want to be here. But it's a fleeting thought, and you just thought, and all you think about is winning. Don't think about
that kind of like inner monologue. It'd be great to actually listen into one of them, wouldn't it? Like, something I asked fighters about for the book, which is, when it comes to making that decision almost. But one thing I kind of talked about was knockouts deep in fights. Is it kind of a decision? And it sounds really, really harsh, but is anything outside the single punch knockout at some level a decision you make that you can't do this anymore? And some people think it is. Some people think that's a bit unfair, a bit too hard line. But again, it's that inner monologue, isn't it? Because they are supermen in so much as they can get themselves to do things that the vast majority of people just could never get themselves to do, but they are also human. So they'll be walking back to a corner, and it'd just be great to know in those few seconds what's going through their head. It'll just be, Jesus fucking Christ, like, when will you fuck off? I'm hitting you, Will you just...
But you speak about the Freitas fight where you were having that inner monologue, where you're going, what the fuck, like, what am I supposed to do here?
And every round you're not winning. I won a couple of rounds because he took his foot off the gas. That's the fucking truth of it. But I mean, and then that gives you false hope, because then the next round I win in the third. I'm going to win 3 rounds on a row, and it drops me. Like, he did, And I'm like, I can't remember so many times. But he's like, and also I went down once when I didn't have to. I got up, but he hit me so hard I didn't know where the fuck I was, but I just knew enough that the next shot's going to kill me. Not kill me. Like,
put you away.
Yeah, I'm done. The next shot, the fight's over. So all you think of was winning the fight. Though mathematically, some fights you can't fucking win, but you just think you're just engrossed in it, and that's why all this stuff people talk about. People tell you that, when I was on the floor and I thought about my nan and what it meant to her, and it's all that's lovely. It's very poetic.
It's not true though.
It's fucking all you're thinking about is save me.
Yeah.
I was thinking about my nan.
But what he
get in, nan, help me out, will you?
But
Get your shoe off.
What he talks about there is touches on kind of another thing as well, which was you just said, I thought the next punch is going to kill me. Well, not kill me, but it might have.
Yeah, but you don't think that way.
I'm not trying to be kind of macabre here, but basically, fighters will talk about, or they'll get asked about, are you prepared to die in there? And they'll almost all say yes. But it's not like you get to make that decision. David Hay was brilliant on this. He said, listen, yes, I was prepared to die in there. But when I say that, what I mean is that I was prepared to just push and push and push and never stop pushing. It's not like somebody comes up to you between rounds and says, if you keep pushing this hard, in the next round you will die. Do you want that or not? You don't get the heads up, as he described it, but you just have to be willing, like you've just described it there, to keep going and keep going and keep going. And that could mean, in boxing, that the worst happens. Yeah. Thankfully, it's very rare that it does, but it could, and that's the attitude. So that's what you've said there without really knowing.
But your only thought is to win the fight. All you think, win the round. That's all. I gotta win this round. I don't even think about the fight unless someone said, "Listen, you're miles behind you and you need to do something." I'm like, "Fucking hell, you picked the wrong guy for that." How many rounds you got left? But even then, even if you can't win the fight, you're still trying to win a round.
Stop, yeah.
Just win the fucking round. I'm in there to win. You're in a privileged position, especially in boxing for world title. You're in a privileged position, or earning money that they are now. Fabio Wardley, Frazer's just in there thinking I gotta win the next round. But the whole point of it is, get back to that, is that he got to that place at some point where he didn't want to fucking be there, and he stayed there. And he fought out the trouble, and then he almost won a fight. I think that is invaluable experience. That you don't want too many of those, but you need those because you know where you're at now.
I think everybody wants one, don't they? Just to prove. Yeah. And some fighters will go out and deliberately fight the wrong kind of fight, and have one of them because they want to prove to people that they can do it, which is a madness, really. But sometimes that's what they'll do. And my go-to flat was always Tim Bradley against Ruslan Provodnikov. He chose to do it because people were questioning whether he could. But because they are humans, you want to do it once, and fans think it's great, but you don't actually want that. I mean, you've got to be prepared to do whatever it takes, but you don't want it because you're not.
Yeah, you don't want to be in a fight.
You're not an idiot.
Yeah. Well, you're not gonna. We weren't getting a prediction from you, Andy. But can we get a prediction from you?
Yeah, I think Wardley.
Points.
Stoppage.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What point in the fight?
Oh fuck me! From the first.
What minute?
But
do you see it? Do you think, because he's predicted like 6 round or 3, right? Depending on what interview you watch, he says early. Obviously, Adelaide went in 7.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a traditional fight?
I think it goes late again because I think Frazer can get back up.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that just out of an instinct. I think Frazer could totally outbox him this time. He could be smart and outbox him, and he could make Fabio walk out the punch later on in the fight, because later on the fight, Frazer had some real good work. So I wouldn't be shocked if he knocks out. It's the heavyweights, for God's sake. So anyone can knock shit out, and because the first fight was so close, you tend to think it would be similar again. And I'm going against my natural thought process, like I said before. You tend to go with the one who's got a better boxing brain, who's a better technical, better boxer, to be able to adapt in the rematch.
That's Clarke.
That's Clarke by a million miles. Yeah. That's Clarke, yeah. I mean, but for Fabio's math is really athletic. So his punch is whipping. He has that lovely movement. He has a nice wide stance. He makes loads of fucking mistakes. But his Nigel Benn instinct, let's just call it, gets him out of trouble. He just fires his way out of trouble, and I just think that's a special ingredient that, in the end, at some point we'll get him knocked out, and it might be this fight, but it also gets him out of trouble. So I just think that's what's gonna happen. We had them both with us at the press conference, and I just kept saying to listen, thank you. I said to both of them. I said we had Fabio first, and I praised him. But I said I praised Fabio. I got to praise you. Thank you for that. I almost never went. I was going to watch it on telly. I thought I can't listen to the fucking Sky commentators.
Fair.
But I went. I'm so glad I went. Sunday,
it was a great night, wasn't it?
It was packed out. The crowd were brilliant. It was Sunday night in the O2, man. It was just like a bank holiday treat.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go. No prediction.
No, I find it very hard to call.
Yeah,
genuinely, I do, because I can see it.
I
can see it either which way. Yeah. I do think it's possible that Frazer Clarke could outbox Fabio Wardley in a super disciplined display for 12 rounds.
Yeah.
That's possible.
And knock him out.
But it's. don't know. I think Wardley's one of these guys who's got a kind of bit of a Jedi mind trick about him, whereby you will kind of end up doing it the way he wants to do it.
Yeah.
Which is what we saw in the first fight.
Indeed. Okay, let's go one weight class down to cruiserweight.
Isn't that great? That's 2 fights, and you can't pick a
No,
winner.
two intangibles everywhere. Could go. Basically all results are in play for both of those fights. Which
You've kind of got a main event of the undercard, and then this uber main
well,
event.
Well, because this was supposed to be on the 5x5, wasn't it? This was supposed to be the main event of the 5x5, and so they had to sort of do a equally good undercard, which they have. Then after that, this is a weird. What would I say? Weird. Jai Opetaia defended his IBF cruiserweight title against Jack Massey, who's an 11-1 underdog. Now we love Jack Massey, but this is not a fight. This is an unusual Saudi fight. You don't often get them this one-side favourites like this.
See, I don't think it's massively one-sided. Me,
11-1 underdog. Yeah. So I think that's unfair. What do you think?
I think it's unfair. I understand why. Opetaia is a scary character to be around, but everyone should scared of him. Like I don't know what the problem is. I don't know. Anytime he wants it, Andy will give it to him.
I interviewed him last week. It's actually in next week's or this
intense,
week's Boxing News. He cried twice in the interview.
He cries.
He's so emotionally in tune and intense. That's what it is, emotional intensity. And obviously it comes out in his fighting. But then he doesn't box like a wild man.
No, not
He's
at all.
very, very
there's a simmering anger, isn't it?
Yeah,
you just see him all the time. He's like,
When
even when he's smiling, he's like that.
The way he took out Ellis Zorro, he's not just like
see,
a
that's my thing. Against Bradis, like the first fight, I was like, he was an underdog. He came from nowhere, and he did tremendously well with the injuries, and Bradis had injuries as well. Don't forget that in the fight, and he got through. And it was a great fight, and he announced himself. But then he went way down, no disrespect to Jordan Thompson and Ellis Zorro, but they were fights way off that level, to be honest. So they
were building him over here, weren't they, Matt?
Yeah, but still, he didn't build on that success. I don't think you got to go with a killer again, but still. And he looked great. He looked good, but he didn't look like supersonic, I don't think. And then the Bradis...
I don't know, Jordan Thompson and Ellis Zorro, I think Jordan Thompson, he looked really...
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, he's boxing Marius Bradis, then he's boxing Jordan Thompson.
Yeah, fair point.
And no, Jordan Thompson, he's still learning.
Yeah, he's not Marius Bradis.
So he should have done that. I don't think, to be honest. But then again, he still did it. Yeah. I understand that. But and then the Bradis fight again, he had a bit of an hard time again with it, because Bradis is good.
In the last round, yeah.
Yeah, but so he's a good fighter, and he might be the best cruiserweight in the world. But he's not, I think we've all built him up because of his demeanour outside the ring as well. Like he's like, he's the angry man that wants to talk to you.
And there's 2 nasty knockouks.
Yeah. So Jack Massey's a good fucking fighter. By the way.
He was underdog against Isaac Chamberlain as well, and he boxed really well.
I think he gets beat by Opetaia. Opetaia can box.
He's a very good, technically sound boxer,
and he went the distance with Joseph Parker.
Just going to say exactly that. So he's not going to have any apprehension about the punch power, because I remember covering that fight, and kind of in the middle rounds or towards after 2 or 3, he's tucking up on the ropes and Parker's kind of unloading, but he's keeping it nice and tight, and I'm thinking, you can't do this for much longer, because this guy's a fully fledged heavyweight. And he didn't, and he won some rounds in that fight. So I think that's a big thing for him going into this. But I agree with Opetaia. Yeah, he has looked really good at times, but it was like everybody all of a sudden just decided that he was head and shoulders above everybody else. Now, I think he deservedly claimed the crown of number 1 in the division because he beat Bradis. And that was a massive win. But then it was really interesting in the rematch, because Bradis is 39 at that point. He'd been out for 2 years.
He retired after it as well.
And he nearly won the fight at the end. You nearly won. He was kind of all over the place.
Opetaia was not this electric beast, but that was the beauty of that matchmaking, I think, from bringing him over here. Jordan Thompson, like this showcase, absolutely blitzed him, and then he Ellis Zorro in 1 round. So everyone's going, fucking hell, this guy's dangerous.
Interesting as well. And
then
he's interesting.
But the Bradis fight, he got both sides of his jaw broken. It went that was life and death. And then he has the 2 stoppages. Then he has Bradis again. So I know what you're saying. That the jury's not still out on him, but we can't kind of anoint him.
When people say, would he definitely beat Chris Billum-Smith? Well, I wouldn't say he would definitely beat Chris Billum-Smith.
Was the bet?
And he was chasing other fights too. We must say that about him. He's been chasing them, constantly, hasn't he? And for various reasons.
Was the better resume? The argument. People go, Opetaia, but is it though? I mean, you know, because
he's got the 2
Billy
wins.
Smith beat Okoli. I mean, I was one of the, it was a scrappy fight, but it's still Okoli who I know hot and
no
cold.
one had got remotely close to it.
Yeah, but when he hits you,
Yeah.
he knocks you out. So he beats Okoli. All right, okay, and then he beats Masterneck, which is not people go, Masterneck, but Masterneck. Well, I don't. Yeah, but I think Riak was a little bit lower than them.
Yeah, and Isaac Chamberlain. I know what you're saying. But these are good, solid names.
No, none of them. Yeah,
if you take the best 5 CBS wins, they're better than the top 5 Opetaia wins.
Yeah, it's just Opetaia's best win, probably better than his. There, so I think, and I would make Opetaia a favourite against Billy Smith, to be honest, as well, because I think Opetaia has good feet and he boxes really well.
Yeah.
I mean, you see him, if you watch him before the Raiders fight, you wouldn't give him a chance to beat Raiders, but you thought actually he's not a bad boxer. You never thought he's a destroyer.
Boxed really well the first 9 rounds in the rematch against Raiders, and you know, it was impressive. You just think the only way this can go wrong for him really is if he starts to mix it or he gets caught. And that's why when it got rough at the end, he just needed to stay on his feet because the Breeders had got there a bit too late. But this was one of those fights, wasn't it, where when it was announced, you're just kind of really pleased for Massey because I think
change his life.
It's going to change his life, and I think he'll give a thoroughly good account of himself. It's always possible that against somebody like Opetaia or in any fight that you could get beaten early on. I mean, that can always happen, but
Massey could take it a distance.
Jack
absolutely he could.
Yeah,
absolutely he could.
Yeah, and you've got to root for someone like Jack Massey. You know, he's a family man, and he's been plugging away, and he doesn't get the best.
It took a long time for anything to happen after he took that massive risk against Parker.
Yeah.
And he got the fight against Chamberlain, and he won it. But he's been really, really patient. He's persevered. He's done all the things that everybody says you have to do, but that must be really difficult to do when you're the one in the middle of it, and having to do it. And he's you know, before his last fight, Isaac Chamberlain said, "Oh, he's just an ABC fighter," and I meant it as a bit of a derogatory term, but that's exactly what he is. But that's what's wrong with that? You know, he took that as a compliment. Actually, he's just like, "Yeah, I know I am. I am an ABC fighter, and I'm a good one, and you'll find out." And you know, I think as well as the Parker test, which, let's not forget, he did lose, but he can take confidence from. That fight against Chamberlain was kind of in a balance after 8, and he was maybe just starting to feel a little bit sorry for himself because Chamberlain had started to come into it. Joe Gallagher just gave him a good old-fashioned, you know, any given Sunday kind of G up in the corner, just questioning his bollocks basically, and he responded. Yeah, and that's a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
his structure's sound, I think, with Massey. So structure's pretty, so that's why he's always going to give someone a difficult fight. He's always going to be hard to blast out because he'll keep his shape really well under pressure, and he'll fire back enough to maybe just stop you from bullying him. But ultimately, Opetaia is technically better, I think, as well, has more rhythm to his work. So I think he'll struggle with that, and so I think Opetaia will win. Whether he gets a stoppage or not will be down to if Massey goes for it after he's like 7 rounds down or something.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on what's he.
If he stays safe, just tries to fire back, not stay safe and just get the distance. But if he just keeps his shape throughout, then I think Opetaia will find it hard to break him down. But I think Opetaia wins quite handily. But Massey's I tell you what, he's a sleeper in this fight.
Opetaia, of course, is kind of like this mini Usyk. I mean, saying mini, he's basically the same size as Usyk, but that southpaw in and out, that kind of amateur style. Yeah. The problem is it's a bit of a puzzle as well, isn't it? Like, how do you go about beating that? Isaac Chamberlain's one thing, but then trying to beat someone. How do you prepare for Jai Opetaia? Same as how do you prepare for Alexander Usyk? Question. It's like nothing you've really ever come across before.
Yeah, maybe. I don't see it the same, like, to be honest, because he doesn't really move off the pivot's not the same as Usyk would do. But so you got to try and get him on his way out. That's the secret. If you can have a strong structure and block a shot as he comes in, try and fire with him, but more importantly block the shot, and then when he steps out, you quicken your feet up and go with him. And then if you're lucky to get with him, then you got to take the angle first before he does. But I don't think he takes the angle as good as Usyk, but that's what you've got to try and do, to take the angle with him. Unless you're massively big and you can punch over the top of him. That's the thing.
Which he's not.
No. So I think, that's the way. But I think Massey will fire straight and long when he comes in. I think he'll do the 1, 2, 3, and I think that'll be, I mean, there'll be gaps there for Opetaia to work on, but I think also that might just keep enough to keep Opetaia occupied. So when he does have an attack, he doesn't go through the second phase of attack because Massey's always throwing back. And it might be a little bit of a, not boring fight, but it might not be the whitewash that we think.
No. One other little caveat in this fight is that Jai Opetaia is back with his dad as his head trainer, Tapu, this is his first fight since the one before the Bradis fight. And he's had a different trainer then. They fell out for some reason. He wouldn't tell me exactly what, but they had some issues. He says, we're back together now, and this is the first fight.
So was he
together.
with his dad from the start?
As a kid.
Right.
Yeah, and then obviously went to Australia camp and whatnot. And, but his dad was with him until the one before the first Bradis fight, which was Daniel Russell, who stopped in an 8-rounder in 2021.
That was his last one with his dad.
So his dad's never had him as a world champion. So he's done that graduation to the elite level, and now his dad's back involved. And Jai said, we're back to the pure boxing now.
Was he? But was he there? He's got quite a lot of people around him, hasn't he? And they're just family members. They're not an entourage.
But I think the dad was definitely not part of the camp because he had a new trainer and they seem to have had some sort of fallout.
Okay.
But they've had they've been reunited, and he's the trainer again. And he says it means I'm back to my boxing now, and I'm not trying to take people's heads off. So it's interesting to see how that might actually manifest in a fight like this. If it is. Maybe it's the making of Opetaia. It makes it even better.
Or it might help Massey.
It may be, it's a risk. I said, is it a risk?
He's not trying to intimidate him.
Yeah. Is it a risk that you've done this big change now at the sort of breaking point? If he wins this fight, Opetaia, then everyone is looking for the unification against Chris Billam-Smith, or against Gilberto Ramirez, of course, who also boxes in Saudi.
I know that's not coming yet, but that's a wicked
The
fight.
winner of that, exactly. So the winner of that,
fight.
just a fly in the ointment or a Jai in the ointment. Opetaia has to have a mandatory before the end of the year.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, so that November date of CBS and Zerdo, therefore, will rule them out of boxing this year. So that means Opetaia, if he wins, will probably have to have a mandatory defence before even thinking about unification, I would say.
He won't fight again before the end of the year, unless if this goes quick.
Well, Opetaia might just try and wrap up a mandatory somewhere, or because he don't want to get stripped before, so they'd have to get some sort of agreement in place for the unification straight away, basically, with the winner of CBS and Zerdo, which might these things are easier now in the Saudi era.
Also, in this era now, if you can get that big fight,
who cares about the belt?
Win the belt. Yeah, I almost feel because you're gonna get another 2 belts, in you. Because all this we've seen now, unification fights now. Once you get there, which is great, we love it. But they just disperse straight away. Like heavyweight fight. Once that, you think Buatsi's going to be world champion within a month of it happening. Yeah. Unless they got a rematch clause, haven't they?
You would assume so at the light heavyweights.
Yeah. You'd think if this is a really good fight, then surely
you want to see it again. But it
wouldn't matter if it was all the belts or not, would it?
Yeah, but I think you tend to so the belts are going to go.
Yeah, same with Fury Usyk. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares that there's no IBF on the line on December 21st. Nobody cares one bit. Doesn't matter. And
actually, the way things have gone, it just lines up another undisputed. Yeah.
Okay.
What made him cry? Just out of interest.
Well, you're gonna have to read the Boxing News to find out.
Good.
But the first question, I'll tell you what the
just
first
ended.
One,
actually,
I just said to it. Yeah. Well, you need to resubscribe. But he said the first bit. It was just a very simple question about. He was saying about he's just had a daughter. He's just the 3-month first child. And he was talking about his missus was the breadwinner at one point. And I said, what was this? When you're early pro, he was like, before I was 18 and 0, I didn't really make any money from boxing up until he was 18, 19 and 0. And he said him and his dad were just driving along and he'd be like, we might fucking chuck this in. We're giving so much to this sport. Anyway, get emotional about that. And then that was about his dad. And then his mum came up in conversation about 5 minutes later and started crying again. He's a very intensely emotional person. He cried on the podcast with me and George because he just gets him. It means so much to him. He's fought so hard.
I think he feels a huge sense of responsibility towards his parents and his extended family to kind of bring them up.
He said if I eat,
bring everybody up with him.
And he was making no money, and now he's making Saudi money. It's just
sounds like a crybaby to me. I don't know what's
I reckon. I want to see him chin Barry Jones.
Can you imagine
on YouTube live?
We were talking in Saudi the last time. When he boxed over there last time, me and Bunch doing a podcast about it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. It was in my hotel in the lobby. And he sat over the other side. It's a big hotel, but then we're talking about him. So he goes like this. He mentions his name. He's fighting Zara, wasn't he? And but we're talking about it, and I'm saying this. Well, to be honest, since he put Bradis, the defences he had have been relatively, the Thompson fight. Not really the fight you want. You can't really judge him on that, can you? Because it's a bit below that level. And Buncey's shitting himself. I was going, what about him? What's he going to do? And we walked over to him, and I think, maybe he would.
Yeah, he might.
Can I just think I'm too small to hit?
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna hit me? Look
He
at
would
me, like,
fuck. He would
look
do
at
it.
me, like, oh,
He's a fiercely like loyal and one of those kind of admirable characters, and this all means a lot. And also he came over for the presser, which obviously in London. Can't go back to Australia 3 weeks out or whatever.
Yeah.
So what he's done is he set up shop in London. No particular gym. He was at Churchill's for a bit, and there's literally I will spar anyone. So I'm hearing, like people like Alois Jr. That anyone, Dan Azizi sparred anyone who's around,
and he'll just go to their
he'll
gym.
go to their gym
Wow.
with his bag and he'll spar him. And he's like, and I want to show people this is how we train. Like this is what he's about. He's a different.
It was
character.
interesting that because for his fight against Breedis, that was what card was that on?
That was on the Usyk Fury,
Yeah,
the rematch.
That's right.
Yeah.
And during the week, you're always trying to see if you can go and see fighters outside of the main press obligations, and Sky are looking to see if they can do a bit of filming. And so they asked Opetaia and said, is it all right if we come and see in the gym? He said, yeah, fine. Is it all right if we film everything? Yes, fine. Is it all right? And so you're almost like having a bit of a laugh and pushing. Is it all right if we bring everyone down? Yeah, fine. And he just said, listen,
Can we film sparring? Yep, don't care.
this is training.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me how many of you are here. I don't see you. I'm just concentrating on my training.
That's what we fucking do, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's quite unusual.
Oh, especially these days.
Yeah,
fucking
to
hell.
have an open house like that during fight week.
Yeah, and they had that this week. It was just come down and watch him train. Anyone he brought his gum shield obviously, and they'll finish the camp here and they'll go to Saudi. So like what you were saying with the Russians, it's the same.
Yeah.
They're going to just go from here to Saudi with 10 days out or 2 weeks out, whatever it might be. Okay, but that's a good fight, of course. Now, before we get onto Eubank, we're going to go for the watershed moment for women's boxing. And that's Sky Nicholson against Raven Chapman on this card. The first women's fight in Riyadh, and it's a world title fight for Sky Nicholson's WBC featherweight title.
Yeah.
Matchroom against Queensbury, which obviously hasn't ended well.
Matchroom need a win.
Yeah, Matchroom is desperate for a win. And they have the favourite in this fight. I think you could positively say with the bookmakers, certainly with the bookmakers anyway. A good style matchup, that sort of hands down, cute kind of Nicholson pot shotting against Raven Chapman, who's just all pressure. Could be a good fight for a moment like this in women's boxing.
Yeah, if it all depends if Chapman can get close. If she can get close, then it's a good fight to watch because she put Nicholson under pressure, and we haven't seen that too often.
Yeah.
I know that when she gets it, I think Chapman hits a little bit better than what her record suggests. I think she's solid with every shot. So I think that might do her well there because you can get close and she can just you'll slow the legs down, haven't you?
Yeah.
But in 2 minute rounds it's hard because by the time you get started, you haven't got time to build into cutting the ring. You got to cut it off quick. So you got to take a risk, and with that risk, you're getting caught. And someone like Nicholson who can spin off really quick because she's so on the balls of her feet. There's no power in the shots because of that.
Yeah, 1 stoppage in 11 wins.
Yeah, but what's wrong with that? But she flicks a shot and spins off, and so then so once you get to a minute, she can coast around. She wins. She has that ability to do that. So for Chapman, it's to get in close. But I think she needs to step to the side and throw. If you step to the left, wing the right hand over the top. If you step to the left, you're going to make Nicholson go to her left onto your right. So you got to just really commit. Go left, dip low over the top. Or if you go right, dip low over the top of the left, and make her walk onto the big shot. I think you can do that because she does lift the chin up, Nicholson. I mean, she's beautifully skilled and all the rest of it, but with that, because she gets away with so much, she makes so many mistakes, but no one can capitalise because her hands is really low, but her chin's high. So there's a tag to be hit. Just needs someone who's physically strong and also has the fast enough feet. And I'm not sure whether Chapman does. I mean, you can box. She can cut you off through boxing, but I mean, she's so fleet-footed, Nicholson. You see, it's hard. Or Chapman closes her down. Especially those 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yeah.
You just need that extra minute to be hard for you, but harder for her with the movement. I think that would be more difficult for her. Or then we get to see the other side of Nicholson. Maybe we talk about Frazer Clarke. We haven't seen that toughness yet because she hasn't really had to show it because the movement's always been enough. So we see what it's like. And she's been caught before, of course. She's never taken a punch, but that relentless pressure, which Chapman could do. But I'm not sure she could do it in this one. But it's also stylistically, if she can get a little bit of a foothold early, if she can get a bit of success early, then I think it's a really good fight.
Just going to ask you exactly that. But the pair of you, do you feel like for Raven Chapman, she needs to almost gamble a bit, not be reckless or gung ho, but really try and put it on her properly early. Because if you feel like, well, I'll just see how it, I just don't want to blow a gasket.
That's
I don't want to do
perfect
this.
for Nicholson.
That's perfect for Nicholson, isn't it?
Yeah. She's gonna.
So
have
you
to
just feel like
gamble.
she's got to really bring it.
I think it's a golden headbutter. I'm joking, but I have to actually. I have
rough
to
her up somehow.
Something you got to unsettle people like Chapman, like Nicholson, who once again their rhythm, because she's you see what she's like. She's a really confident young lady, isn't she? She's a real confident woman. So like she's exclusive. So it's like this is easy for me. I'm just boxing. She's talking. Like I said, this is a really good fight. On paper, she's going. It's going to be an easy fight for me. But you want to see that confidence from the champion. Yeah. But if you can just get in, but also she had no one put it on her. So imagine someone just goes out the straight and goes crack. Shouldn't do that. I'm not condoning that, but I mean, there's things like that. You hit people low. You pull them, you push them, you lean on them. All those things you're not used to. I don't know if Chapman can do that, but if possible, she's got to make an impression early. Whatever that impression is, should be with the punches and intelligence and all that bollocks. But if you just make an impression early and get it out of a rhythm, that's the thing. If you get Nicholson out of a rhythm, then we see how good a fighter she is. Because at the minute, in a rhythm, in a flow, she's very hard to slow down. She's very hard to beat. And I'm just not sure Chapman's got the feet. I think she has the weight in the shot, but I'm not sure she has the feet to do that quick enough. So you have to make Nicholson a big favourite. Yeah, it's a big moment though, isn't it? The flying the flag for women's boxing in Saudi. Yeah, it is. And he is absolutely right when he says it's the first one on Riyadh season. People think about Ramla Ali's fight, but that was in Jeddah. Yeah. Under a previous kind of different banner. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but
different promotion, wasn't it?
Yeah,
this is the first Riyadh season. Certainly first world title.
She fought a girl who couldn't fight. Bless her. Yeah, that's not Ramla Ali's fault, but it was horrible, wasn't it? Yeah,
but it's a good fight, and it's one that people have been talking about for a while. And Raven Chapman's been kind of waiting for it. Yeah, which has probably been a bit frustrating. She's gone 10 rounds in her last 4 fights, so she won't have any concerns about that. It's just whether she can, as outlined, get to Nicholson, and I think she's got to be bold and take as many calculated risks as she can, because if she goes about it thinking that I'll come into it in the second half, the fight will be gone before she knows it. But Queensberry versus Matchroom is always a good formula. And Matchroom do need a win.
Have they had a win yet since the?
Well, no.
The 5x5, no. Dubois Joshua, no. Yeah. This could be the one.
Warrington, Kakachi. Yeah. No. If Warrington was still a Matchroom fighter, I'm not sure, but yeah.
But she's definitely got plenty of confidence, Sky Nicholson. You see that in the way she fights, but also the other week at the press conference, I was just chatting to Tom Triber before he went up and did his thing, the MC, and he likes to double check his notes and stuff, and he said, "Oh yeah, Sky Nicholson wants me to announce her as future undisputed." Yeah, so and we both just kind of looked at each other and sort of chuckled and just thought, "Oh, all right."
Yeah, because you can choose whatever nickname you want.
You can,
and that's obviously very misleading because you think, "Oh, is she? Who says?" But you could say whatever you want. Yeah. And she wears that T-shirt, the number 1 on BoxRec as well. Yeah. She's not short of confidence. Okay,
but she's good. When she's in a flow, she's good. She's good. And it's a good fight. It'd be a good fight to watch. It'll be just see the skill of Nicholson just totally dominate, or you see a really, really fight a cat and mouse affair, which would be good to watch.
Okay, then maybe the number 1 talking point from that press conference the other day was
can't talk about that
because Chris Eubank Jr. Who remains on this card against Kamil Szeremeta, who we all know from his fight against Gennady Golovkin. Obviously Eubank, we're not going to go into it because I don't want to get the podcast shut down, but he obviously had some choice words about basically all the promoters got a spray. He's since apologised immediately after that press conference to Frank, and Frank also apologised back, which is very sweet. And then the next day there's a photo of everyone with Turkey Alal Sheikh in the middle. They're friends again, or at least it's smoothed over. So he's on this card now, Chris Eubank Jr. But he does, I don't know, he likes to stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah, he does. He's always been like that.
Front of the Boxing News this week, by the way.
I don't think necessarily that Ade was really expecting that when he asked him he asked him about the link up with Boxer. I don't think he could have been expected to feel like that was a possibility. But yeah, I mean, standing there listening to it, you were just thinking. I was anyway standing there thinking to myself, I think you're going to get a legal letter, Chris, because Frank Warren's he's not slow to,
he's 3 foot behind
defamation. He's 3 feet behind you, and you could probably feel his pulse raising.
Wrath behind you.
He loves to call a case for Warren, because he very rarely loses. That's why.
He fired back pretty quick, didn't he? And then he moved on to Eddie. Calla wasn't even there.
Yeah, Calla got it as well.
To His Excellency got some praise. Ben Shalom, he remembered eventually.
So did Ben.
Actually his promoter. And he got some praise too. Eubank's Eubank, isn't he? And he won't ever change for anybody. But a conversation will have been had afterwards where it was suggested to him, or rather, probably. Is that a polite request when something's just when the person in charge suggests to you that something needs to happen, as in you need to put out a statement and apologise, then that's what you do. And he's smart enough to realise that.
Well, it's a big opportunity for him because he's been kind of out in the cold in this whole Riyadh season era, but he's in from the cold, and he's got a kind of a straightforward fight on his hands, and one that he is an overwhelming favourite.
I think it's a boring fight.
Do you?
Yeah.
So Szeremeta, we know, like I said, he lost to Golovkin. That was like 3.5 years ago. Then he lost to Munguia, and then he's kind of been rebuilding. He's been
treading water, hasn't he, since then, really?
But I mean, but Eubank won't stop him, I don't think. And I just think and Szeremeta will just make him work. And I don't think he has the ability to box Eubank. So I think
stop him.
Or stop him, yeah.
So why is Eubank? Like, I know we had problems with Bomac last time with his luggage items, but that was coming to the UK, and this is in Saudi Arabia. So what? And
we seems to be working with
Jonathan Banks. That went so well, that partnership
in the rematch. It really did.
Liam Smith.
Yeah. But I think the way he is, though, it's almost like I always say the fight is as good as your fighter and all that. But I think with him, I don't think it matters who he's with. I don't think you can change him dramatically anyway. Well, the Roy Jones thing maybe arguably changed him for the worst, but because he stopped doing what I used to criticise him for, but actually throwing too many punches and not putting purchase on the shots. But then actually when he tried to throw less punches, he looked more vulnerable. So he needs to go back to just doing that. He needs to be a high energy fighter like he was before. He's a weird one, Eubank, because when he throws shots, you go, and then you go, but no one's falling over. Every shot it looks like a killer. Like, especially I did this early career, you go, bah, and you go, what? And then you go 4 rounds in, you go, he's still doing it. Why are they all falling asleep? Because the punches look vicious. I think he's just a sharp puncher, but maybe he hasn't got his dad's power. He got all his other dad attributes of the arrogance and in a good way. I mean, after the way he portrays himself, and his chin has been fantastic throughout his career. And his fitness has always been very good, better than his dad's. But I just haven't inherited that raw strength and power, I don't think. But he's a good boxer, Eubank. He's chewing to be a world champion, isn't he, Andy? But,
if he chose to go down that route, then.
But actually, what is his motivation? Because it's
that's it.
You just presume every guy's motivation is to be a world champion, because that's what it blows my mind. Why wouldn't you? What are you in it for? But no, you make the money as you go, hopefully, and that's the idea. And then you get to a point in your career, and it's all about the money more than anything else, because you've got the world title.
It's been open, hasn't it, the last couple of years since Golovkin kind of departed the scene. The opportunities,
and Charlo's been missing as well.
Have been there, and that's why I thought he would do it. But he never ended up going down that road.
But open with names, but not with good fighters. I mean, there's no standing fighters, so you're right. But I mean, there's still good fighters in that division. People just think, because there's no superstar name.
I'm not saying he definitely would have beaten these guys. But,
absolutely.
They would have. There might have been
opportunities. Boxing on Friday, isn't he? So Janabek, yes, that's that. He's when he's on form, he's as good as anybody in that division.
I think it's a good fight for him because
Eubank.
Szeremeta is a faded force. But those only 2 defeats are Golovkin and Munguia, and he drew his last fight against a guy called Abelmina. I saw Abelmina fight on a card in Venezuela a few weeks ago. It didn't appear on his record because it was an IBA Pro Series night, and he was lucky to get a decision against a 7-0 fighter. He turned out to be decent enough. But anyway, my point is, I saw him, Abelmina, and I thought he was bang average. So if Szeremeta's drawing with him, then...
Well, we know what the point of this fight is. Eubank openly said, and fair play to him, he said, I got offered the Canelo fight, but I don't want to have a year out and then go into a Canelo fight. He said, I need a bit of time.
That makes total sense, doesn't it? He doesn't want to be cannon fodder. He doesn't want to be, we bestow this great honour upon you and of course you'll take it. He just goes, I've got enough money. That's not a problem, lads.
I'll still be here in a year.
And this is a guy who's been in with 2 good fighters, one exceptionally good fighter and one really good fighter in Munguia. So if he can get the stoppage, because Szeremeta's no weight on the line than he was there, then he can argue, makes a slightly bet whether they did. But ultimately, I don't think he does. I don't think he
actually
hits.
Something I'm keen to see what you know about this, because you're more plugged into the day-to-day news aspect than me. People seem to be talking about this Ben fight again now in a more kind of optimistic way, or talking about it like something that can happen. And I saw Conor talking to Sky actually saying, it's almost 2 years, and he was talking about sitting down with the board, and he seemed to think that could get resolved before too long, and that it's something that now could happen early next year.
I thought, it sounded like, everyone went quiet on it. Everyone went quiet on Conor Ben for a while, and rightly so after the news. But as far as I can tell, everyone still wants that fight, and it's just a case of as soon as it's going to be allowed, it will happen. But which is strange, really.
Because obviously he doesn't need his UK license to box in Saudi, does he? But it would have been 2 years soon, and you'd imagine that maybe they will just resolve it by saying, okay, well, 2 year backdated ban.
But this is the point that Eddie always makes, that Conor Ben doesn't want to he never wanted to say, okay, yeah, fine.
No, he won't take that plea bargain.
No, he won't plea bargain
it.
Yeah. And it's got in the way of him fighting again, and nobody knows what happened really. All we know is the facts, and that was that that this has happened.
All you can go by is what the facts are. Is Rio Ferdinand going to apply for his license? That's the relevance, I think. It's Conor Ben, the good fighter, and if he fights back again, we'll all talk about him, and if he comes back, he comes back really good and has loads of success. I've got nothing against him personally, so I'm going to go with him just in case he watches and wants to fill me in. Fucking come on.
He can queue up behind Jai Opetaia.
Yeah, I know. I'll be battered by the time you get me. But until he gets his license back, there's no point in talking about him.
No.
I mean, in a good and a bad light, just let the kid leave the kid alone. I just leave the kid alone. People go, he's failed the drugs test, but he's also, is he serving a ban? He must be serving a ban.
Well, he's certainly not making.
But
any money
even he's in purgatory. He's paying for that anyway. Whichever you look at it, he might not admit it that he took the drugs, but he's paying for it in this way. He's not earning, and all the rest of it. And he's not fighting. But there's just, if we want to just bully him, it's dragging all the people who fail drugs tests.
But I do think that the reason why it's a relevant thing is because what it does suggest is what Eubank, his motivation is at this point. And if it's still, I want to fight Conor Ben, I've got a plan to box him at Wembley next year or whatever it might be, it says a lot about what his plot is, like what he's caring about and stuff like that. Like Hamza Shiraz, for instance, he was offered that fight at Wembley. Not interested.
I mean,
in that.
he was still, when he came into Sky a few weeks ago when I was doing the podcast, and I think it was you were in as well, weren't you? And he was still talking about Billy Joe Saunders. He was talking about Canelo and Ben and Saunders. I'd still like a fight with Saunders, and Billy Joe's not coming back. I know every now and again he says he might, but he's just fun. He's just having fun, isn't he? He's not going to fight again.
No. But that says a lot about Eubank, that he's still, those are the three names, because
they're the biggest money.
Two of them three are very, very unlikely. All three are very unlikely at this point. Canelo probably the most likely of those.
Is he?
Of those three.
I don't see what Canelo. Canelo.
Well, just because
big stadium fight in
there's
the
not
UK.
There's not a dearth of options for him at this point, Canelo.
Okay, but how much more will he get for boxing Eubank in America? So, because why people think why does Canelo want to come to the UK? Unless Turkey had a shakes involved.
Exactly.
It's a
2-fight deal, for instance. And then,
then fair enough. But then I understand that. But I mean, apart from that, Eubank's not a massive name in the States, I don't think. He's not, is he? Because he said on the podcast, it's nice to be in America because I can walk around and have a normal life. But so the only extra money that Canelo would get would be come over here. But Canelo doesn't have to give up a penny, does he?
No.
Canelo gets, I get my 30, 25 mil regardless of whoever I fight.
It is,
he doesn't have to make any compromises.
And he's boxing good fighters, by the way. He's not like people go, he's avoiding Benavidez like the plague. Everyone knows that. But he's still boxing good fighters. Who would be favoured to beat Eubank, by the way. Maybe not Belenga, but actually they're different weights, isn't he? He's a middleweight, isn't he? So if his motivation to make money, he just wants to be in big fights. And bear in mind, no one will care outside of the boxing world who Eubank Jr fights. They all want to know if he box Billy Jones again, they'll all love that. We'll all be thinking, well, that has no relevance to the world ratings, but maybe that's not his motivation. Which is fine for him. The way boxing's gone now, we can't criticise that because that's his choice. He can just have a fight. Ben and Eubank box each other, but they didn't know they weren't all. I'm not slagging them off because they were great fighters, but they weren't all like demanding to get Roy Jones Jr. They might say I'll fight him, but they weren't like breaking down a door to box him or James Toney. Because they can make loads of money with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hard fights and a good fight, but I mean, they were understandably
a recent example as well was like Hey Bellew. I mean, that was just like a massive fight and rivalry here, but it had no relevance or significance particularly.
And a bit like Froch Groves as well. Like Andre Ward was over in America going. He said to me, "He's like, that's a domestic fight. That's how Andre Ward viewed that fight. 80,000 people turned up, but it's much the same. Yeah. I do think though, is the Hamza Shiraz fight big enough for Eubank to take, and at what point does it become big enough? Because for me, Hamza Shiraz is going to be the man at middleweight.
Yeah, it looks like. But I mean, if there's a world title,
and also, he has the backing of Riyadh season. Obviously, Turkey likes him. He knocks people out.
Forget about Mark Chambers. He's his favourite.
Yeah. And so then, if he has that backing, and then Eubank is now involved in Riyadh season. Do we see a point where they go, well, Hamza's, this is the fight?
Because that might be for the world title.
Yeah.
And that would be fantastic.
At Wembley, for instance.
Yeah, that'd be mega. Mega fight, yeah. But that's a hard fight for Eubank. Very hard fight.
It is, and I can understand why Eubank looked at Hamza for that Wembley card and just thought, no,
I don't need that.
I don't need that.
No.
Not too far on the bill.
Yeah, you haven't done enough. To fight me. I get it. I do. And we suggested Whittaker to him when that same day when he came into Sky, and it was just kind of something just off the top of our head we decided just to throw in there because it wasn't beyond the realms of possibility. And all of a sudden you could see in his eyes he's thinking, yeah, that's possible, because if his star keeps rising it'll be a big fight, and I want big fights.
Yeah,
big many fights.
Speaking of which, should we go on to that one? Ben Whittaker takes on Liam Cameron over 10. Now, we all know about Liam Cameron. We know his story. We also know since he's come back, what was it, Lyndon Arthur was the split decision. He gave a really good account of himself. This is the hardest fight of Whittaker's professional career so far. Now we expect, therefore, to see something new from him. He's always sort of promised that, or at least people would suggest, okay, he does this to a certain level, but we're really going to see him when someone is, someone in front of him brings it to him a bit. And I think Liam Cameron can do that. I think
he can, but I think we might see the best of him for that. I think because what Liam Cameron did, I think he was a clear loser. I think Arthur won clearly. I don't want to say that against him, but he pushed him.
There's a split though, yeah.
But Arthur's a coaster. He coasts too many rounds with London. That's a big criticism I have of him. He's a good fighter, but he likes to coast too much, and he gets in trouble for that. And he almost did in that fight, but he got through it and he won the fight. But you could argue that Ben Whittaker coasts fights as well because of his style. But I think he reacts better under pressure. And you got a guy who's going to come right at him. I think Cameron's not going to rush him like we all. I think our first thought is Cameron's going to go right at him, put pressure on him. But I think he's quite experienced, to be fair, Cameron. So he'll realise if I do that, I'm just going to walk onto loads of shots. Yeah. And also he's going to take the piss out of me.
Yeah.
Not just walk on the shots. He's going to take the piss and go boom, boom, and slip underneath and do all that, drunken master crap, and it'll drive him mad. But I think inevitably that's what happens. See, we were together again because he's a very expressive fighter. He's always going to make loads of mistakes that might get him knocked out. But like Naz, not like Naz, what's his name? Tyson Fury. I forgot his name now. He ain't number one anymore. No, because within that fucking stupidity and taking a risk is where the magic lies. That's where you get all that beautiful stuff that you see and all that the viral shit about with Whittaker. So I think someone like Cameron will bring the best out of him. And also he might get tagged a few times and he might lose a round or two just under sheer pressure. But ultimately, I think it's the perfect fight for him to step up to a level. The guy who's going to come at him, but comes at him at route one. And if he comes at him in straight lines, Whittaker, who I think is actually quite tough, I got a feeling he's quite tough. I think you will see the best of him.
What do you reckon, Andy?
Yeah, I think he's actually been moved well, Whittaker, in terms of the opponents. He's got some rounds in. Yeah,
8-0, 5 KOs.
Yeah, I think it's, he had a stop-start beginning because of injury, but say from late last year, on Bilham Smith's undercard in Bournemouth. He had that really good knockout, and then he boxed, I think, 3 times.
Grade,
three times in the first half of this year.
Leon Willings, that was a good opponent as well.
That was a good opponent.
And then he had the Arienka, the guy who sort of put it on
and I think with him, I think we thought that he would come at Whittaker because of the way he went about getting the fight, and he was quite vocal and seemed quite angry in the press events, and we thought like he might be quite gung-ho, but on the night actually he wasn't. He boxed a tight, disciplined fight. I'm not saying he didn't try and win, but it turned out that he wasn't capable of winning. So in the end, that turned into a 10-round sort of sparring in a way, although we did experience a couple of things in there, Whittaker, where Aranika stuck in the elbow and then nutted him. I mean, that I really liked, actually, because Whittaker was kind of making fun of him a little bit, walking him back to his corner. Aranika stuck the head in, and Whittaker didn't mind at all. He just kind of laughed at it. It's just like, all right, I did what I did, you did what you did.
He knows he's playing the game, doesn't he?
He does. He absolutely does. And I do think he's got the minerals for it. We'll have to wait and see. But everything you hear about him is that he trains really, really hard. He knows exactly what boxing is. Yes, he likes to show off, but there is no rule against showing off. I had my difference of opinion with him, basically because if you tap somebody on the top of the head, you are choosing to commit a foul for the purpose of trying to humiliate them a bit. That's not for me. Showing off, fine. The deliberate infringement, I think it's not for me, basically. But anything short of that, if it makes you happy, get on with it. But I think his trainer, Joby Clayton, would be quite keen for him to just stop it altogether. But the training situation is an interesting one too, because he's been having a look from what I hear. And that's not to say that Joby Joby will always be a part of it. But he's been having a look. But as far as I know, I think Joby will be leading the corner in Saudi.
Yeah, because he was with Sugar Hill for a bit, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then that came to an end. And the last 2 or 3 fights, Joby's led the corner.
And also, you think automatically they should go with a big name fight the trainer. Like, why?
Yeah, why?
Why?
Yeah,
Joby might become a big name trainer. He might already be a big name trainer. I don't obsess myself over trainers, because like ultimately, I say you're only as good as your fighter, because otherwise every fight you'd have would be good. Do you know what I mean? You can't polish a turd. As my trainer found out with me. But you're good or you're not good. You have strength. You have strength. Your weaknesses. And a trainer's worth his weight in gold. And also, a good trainer and a good cornerman are not exclusively the same thing. You might be great in the gym and crap in the corner, or vice versa. Angelo Dundee never really trained anyone, did he? Really, he came in late into the camp, but in the corner, he knew what to say to the fight at the right time. And some trainers can do it all. So like it is what it is. With him, you've got to train him to do. You've got to train. Listen, you got great fundamentals because he's been a world class amateur. He's been a silver medal in the Olympics, for God's sake. And he showed toughness, as you've seen a lot of his amateur career, in the Europeans and stuff, didn't he? But
he ran into Kizhniak twice at the Europeans and the World Championships, a quarter-final stage when he was like 19, 20. And people don't really kind of know about that, because if you follow the Olympics, you'll know who Kizhniak is, because he was just sensational to watch. But that is deep.
That's a harder 3 rounds you can get, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
Well, I'm hearing that if he comes through this unscathed, they're talking about him headlining in America. So they're moving him.
I can't see that.
I don't quite understand why or how or
I think it would be a Peacock NBC kind of thing,
crossover sort of vibe,
from what I hear.
But if he headlines in America, it's an empty arena.
It is.
Yeah.
So it
depends on the opponent.
But no, it is an empty arena.
It depends if they go to someone's backyard. I don't know who. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. But American light heavyweight of some.
It'd be much better to get him in Wolverhampton.
Well, especially in that Civic.
Put him on a big undercut, on kind of a big bill. That would be brilliant, because then he's in a big arena, just on 1 or 2 below the main fight. He gets that American experience and exposure.
Yeah.
But now the world's a smaller place because of the internet and all the rest of the crap. I'm like, it's 2001. It's like, what I mean is he doesn't need to go over there to get exposure.
No,
he's vital because, I've said to him all the time, I'm not a fan. I've said to him, I'm not a fan of what you do, all the show, but it's not for me. I understand the need in it. I'm not a fan of it. I don't watch it, but I also don't watch it. I just watch what he does. Yeah. So I ignore all that crap.
It's really easy to divorce the two as well. Yeah. It's like after our little exchange, people kind of assume that I don't like him or I don't like this. You can just like with Nassim, like all of that stuff. It wasn't for me, but I loved watching it because he was amazing to watch. You can divorce the two things really easy.
So what I said to Ben, I said, don't stop doing it. Do it more. Because like all the youngsters, like Naz is my age, isn't he? So when Naz was doing his stuff, I couldn't stand it. But Naz was doing that when he was younger, by the way. Not to that extent, but he was always like that. But I mean, but then the young kids watching him, you talk them all now, they're your age, and you all go, wow, Naz, man. More for that. You know him for that more than what he was doing. Yeah. His work was fantastic, but all the shit he did, the way he humiliated Steve Robinson, I've got to be a fan of that. Yeah. And everyone else.
That's not one for you.
What? I mean, there's a big Yemeni population in Cardiff. Even they hated him. Yeah. Because everyone loved Steve Robinson. He was our golden boy. He came from nowhere to be a really good world champion. So we all love Steve. We still love him. He's a hero, more than I could ever be. I don't know why they preferred Steve Robinson over me. Weird. No, what I mean is we love Steve Robinson, and he brought boxing back, World Championship boxing back to Cardiff, and it built from there. And we had the success of me and Robbie Regan. Robbie was actually above him, but he won a world title after. Joe Kazagi. It all helps. It all started with Steve Robinson.
But with Naz, the reason why he was so not popular, but because he was such a star, is because there were probably equal amount of people who loved watching him and people who go, he's a prick, the Marmite
effect, isn't it? So you want to see him get knocked out, that didn't work, or you want to see him knock people out, or all the kids who don't really give a shit just love all the flash. And that's what Ben Whittaker is. You have to be polarising, don't you? You have to be. But
I think with him, as time passes, it will mainly be because people really like him. Because when his personality comes out during fight week, obviously you're going to be at you're going to be playing that game to the max, and as you get closer to fight night, you get just naturally more tense and more chippy anyway because you're making weight. But a bit more stuff with him outside of that, and I think people would really take to it.
I think he does it. I mean, you can't tell about a glint in his eye because he's always got shades on, but he does it. He's kind of tongue-in-cheekish, a bit Carl Frochish, where it's not like this is not what he really means. He's doing it because he knows his pantomime.
He's a showman.
Having a pop at the DJ for the music. There's no need for that, but he knows it's cheeky and
that's why I think that he can generate real solid and big kind of hometown support where they are all there to see him win because they love him. I don't think when Naz could go anywhere in the country and draw a big crowd, at least half of whom were probably hoping he would get flattened. I feel like Whittaker can just be that hometown hero, as well as there being people out there who want to see him, taught a few manners. And I know there have been plans for a while to get him out in Wolverhampton. I don't know why it hasn't happened. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but that's what needs to happen because ultimately, but Barry's right. In America, they saw him on Sports Centre when they put that clip up, and they might have clicked follow on Twitter, but they don't care about him enough to buy a ticket and turn up and watch him. They just don't, and that's no comment on his popularity. That's just how things work in the real world. This idea that you can all go global all the time is just it's not necessary.
Eubank, Ben, father and sons making fortunes from the British fan base, not from anywhere else, because they've had a star because of their dads, but either way, that's what it is, and he can be that sort of figure. All I worry about for that is it takes a real strong character to know people don't like you. People who know, I don't know him, but I've been around him a couple of times, and he seems like a real nice kid.
Yeah, he really is.
But people don't see that, so the people who don't like him think he's a twat. If you can live with that, I'd struggle with that.
I think bit by bit that is going to just kind of change, and he'll still be super confident, and he'll have that big star confidence, but I think the rest of it will kind of fall off a little bit, and like I say, people will just kind of, and he won't lose any support from it. I think he'll actually gain it because people will see what he's actually about and what he's actually like.
But his showboating stuff, like I said about it's the same with Tyson Fury, is part of their makeup. I think without that, you can make mistakes there, but without that, you can't do your stuff. You can't. I think it's all instinctively magical with them. So they need that to do it to be at the very best. And so you'll always criticise it. You shouldn't do it, and you always go, if he just got on with his work, how good would he be? But maybe if he had to conform to a structure all the time, maybe he couldn't be as good as he is. So I think drag that on to me.
An interesting one. An interesting one. They were talking about Louis Edmondson for Whittaker for a while, and obviously he's boxing Dan Aziz now. So there seems an obvious boxer path there. Louis Edmondson against Dan Aziz, the winner of that, obviously same weight class. Like that's where Whittaker it kind of is. He's a win or two away from that sort of. Maybe it's next. I can't imagine Dan Aziz against Ben Whittaker is going to headline in Missouri, but. But
Dan Aziz, if Dan Aziz gets over Lewis Edmondson, you've got to say he's a favourite there because all this experience puts in his
same with Edmondson. It'd be a good fight to watch.
And he's been calling for that Whittaker fight for ages. Ages and ages. And I'm glad that he's got the fight against Aziz because Edmondson, I'd see him at press events and he was really putting the time in and he was kind of just thinking to himself, what's wrong with me?
What do I have to do?
You're like, I'm a good fighter.
Yeah. I thought he packed in. I did because I did his early career and he looked really good and talented, good boxer, and tough as well. But and he just seemed to disappear. Maybe the pandemic was like he's one of those. I thought he was one of those. The pandemic just didn't want no good for him. Like one of those guys who fell off the bridge a little bit. But he gets his Dan Aziz fight's massive. But for Dan Aziz being a former champion, that's a perfect sort of fight for
Whittaker.
Of course.
And for Edmondson.
Of course.
Okay, well that's over 10 rounds. The last one, just wanted to mention it, is Mohammed Alakel, a debut, a local man, like a Saudi guy.
Yeah, I spoke to him out.
And he's boxing Jesus Gonzalez over 4. So I guess this is just the first little manifestation of Saudi. This isn't just about get big names over here so we can put it on TV and that. They're trying to build something there. They're building gyms and whatnot. They're trying to
like Joe Gallagher's boy,
exactly. They're trying to get boxing kind of going in the region.
They didn't even they won some titles, didn't they? They had some regional championship over there in the Middle East recently, and I think they did relatively well there, I think. So it takes a long time to build, doesn't it? Things like that. So
did you say you interviewed him at the presser?
I didn't interview him. I don't fucking interview. I spoke to the kid, very nice.
Yeah.
I think he must be based in America by talking to him.
Right.
I didn't speak to him.
He had a bit of a twang to him, but he's a real nice kid. And but how good he is, who knows? But Joe said he's pretty decent. So I think Joe Gallagher's a good judge, and he knows his onions. So but it's important that he gets to win. We got what's his name, Al Mayouf as well. Who's another lovely kid, by the way.
Good to watch.
And a real nice character, can talk well, and and not a bad little boxer. He's learning his trade. Again, based in America because he wants to get the best training he possibly can. But I think once they start having, like Joe Gallagher, he's probably still based here, but he's over there quite a lot, and they get that structure of a training, proper training, they're proper trainers. Then they won't have to travel. They can stay at home and build. And then that's better for building your fan base. The thing is, how do you build a fan base when the sport's brand new? That's difficult because you've got to tell people about the sport first, then you've got to get people to come and watch you. But once you get one, so all you need is one. I was talking with Steve Robinson. We had a big void in Welsh boxing. All it takes is one to change the narrative or to change the outlook, and then it goes poof, big. So there's hope for their sake. If they want to invest in boxing full time, then they get some kid who can box, who can draw in a crowd more than be world championship level, can draw in a crowd. That's important.
Yeah,
just get people excited about watching boxing.
A rivalry is like a domestic rivalry.
Yeah,
that's the gold, isn't it? If you get two of them who are going to fight
each
other, then that draws people in. But that's probably the next step.
Yeah,
you have to get in the first one, isn't it?
So that's the 7th of the 7 fights of Saturday 12th of October, and this is the first of 3 kind of running big Riyadh season events of this year. It's gonna be a banger, isn't it? I mean, that is some card, and that the end of the year is just ridiculous. Then when you go on to then CBS and Ramirez, and then obviously back to the heavyweights,
the top of the bill.
They're not slowing down.
I almost don't care about the undercard. The undercards are really good, but you almost give a shit because the top of the bill is so good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They're so good, isn't they? They really are. You're just like when would Bill Smith box Ramirez? Like that wouldn't. This would Bivol would never happen because they all want too much money. And and they're both from the regions in the world where no one buys pay-per-view. Like, so it could never happen. We never see it, would we? Different networks as well. And now we're getting to see it. And again with Bill Smith and Ramirez, that wouldn't have happened.
No,
it wouldn't have.
And I think what they've realised quickly is that you have to kind of surrender to fate when you're working in boxing to a degree that you don't in other sports, because they tried the whole planning thing where Joshua will beat Wallin, Wilder will beat Parker, then those two will fight, and but then you get injuries and then Parker beats Wilder. Whereas now they're just thinking, just make good fights and then see what happens after that, because Dubois wasn't really supposed to beat AJ, but he did. And now that means if Fury beats Usyk, then we'll still get an all-British fight for undisputed, just not with the two people we expected. And then if Joshua beats Dubois in a rematch, we didn't really expect that, but there's going to be a lot of interest in that. And Fury beats Usyk, then Fury Joshua's back on, and they just kind of know now that it is snakes and ladders, and you just, get the best snakes you can on as many ladders as possible, and you'll end up with something good.
Well, Joshua boxes Wilder. The fight we always wanted to see in the circumstances we never thought we'd see it. But it's still an interesting fight, isn't it? Because of where they are in their careers. You know what I mean? It's just boxing is just great. You just can't plan.
But if there's one place that might happen, that's Riyadh season card in Saudi. It's going to be a mad week, and surely a mad fight, the light heavyweight. So cheers, boys. That was a hell of a stint, and without your normal leader. Well done both.
Thanks.
Again, this is the second best podcast we've done. The first one was when you were in the last time. I mean, which is a real credit, which is real praise, because you're shit.
Exactly.
But it's like, so how good is that? It's just Rob is just super shit.
He's terrible, isn't he? Anyway, most of all, thank you for watching and for listening. And maybe I might see you again in a week, or maybe Rob could be asked, and it'll be him reviewing this show. But we look forward to the show. Thanks for watching.